Okay guys, so in this training, I wanted to go over how to successfully create viral content at scale. And I'll first go over like the high level mindset stuff, and then for the rest of the video, I'll go into like really tactical stuff of how you can create viral Twitter content and how you can like use the same strategy in other content fields like creating viral YouTube videos, creating emails, and pretty much any type of content that has to have some result. So let me just go over like the first part, which is just the mindset. So I think this is pretty important because a lot of like creating content, it's like creating content that when you start off doesn't actually work, and then you might find something that works, and then you hit a stride and you're able to get viral content over and over. So I'll just go over some of the principles that are useful to think about first. So the first principle is the rule of 80-20. So this is like pretty common rule. I think it's called Pareto, but basically it's that 20% of your content will drive 80% of the results. And like this same math formula can be applied to other assets of content creation, which is like maybe 20% of the like formats will drive all of the viral hits, or 20% of the tweets will drive all the followers. And we see this like pattern over and over, saying, and like one of the main takeaways is that it's very hard to find something that works. So when we do find something that works, we have to iterate on that thing. So basically what we're trying to do is first we're trying to find something that works, like find historical stuff that has worked. So this means finding content from other people, finding content from other like formats, other social media platforms. And then once we find stuff that works, we want to just create small variations of whatever is working. So basically like the biggest risk is just trying to invent something new, and it's much more likely to go viral on something that has already gone viral, either on the same platform or on a platform on a different website but for the same niche. So yeah, this is like the first principle, which is just to first find stuff that has already worked and then being able to iterate on it. And then the other core mindset thing is that instead of thinking about content in some random format, like the way that we need to think about content is that we need to find winning formats, and then from the winning formats we can create variations of that format. So what I mean by format is basically on each channel there are certain types of formats. So let me just go over like the example of like YouTube and Twitter, right? So on Twitter right now, a common format is people will have a headline, they will have a body content, and then at the end of the content they will have a call to action to either comment something to get this free gift, right? So that's a format. And maybe on YouTube, like what we can do is we can search for Alex Hormozzi's YouTube. Let me just pull it up so I can show you guys. So basically on the channel you will see that he has a bunch of different videos, but like if you go to popular, you'll see that this is like format, right? So if I wanted to become X in year, then I would do this. So like this is a content format, and then this is another format. So X years of brutally honest business advice in X minutes, right? So this type of format can be spammed over and over, and even if it's not in the business, even if it's not in the exact niche that he did it in, we can use this format on other channels. So like let's say we saw that this went viral, right? So on Twitter we can create a thread that is something like 13 years of honest content creation advice in 3 tweets, right? So basically like this channel has already proven and tested that this format works, so we can reuse it on other platforms. So yeah, like basically to summarize, what we're trying to do first is to just do research of what's already working on the current platform and what's working on other platforms. Then once we find out what's working, then we want to just create variations of that content format. And basically along this path, what we're doing is we're tracking the data and seeing from the variations that we create, is it still working? And if it's still working, then we need to create more variations, and we just repeat this until the end of time. So every week we have to find new winners of content formats and then also create variations of the format that is already still working. So even if we have a content format that we started off like 1 month ago, we want to still keep creating variations of this format like months and years from now. And the only criteria if we stop doing it is if it stops performing. So like if it still performs, then we want to still create variations of it, right? So that's the entire strategy. Find winning formats, create variations, and just track the data very, very closely so that we know if we should keep creating content or stop creating the content format. So yeah, that's like the general high level overview of how you create content. And then the second part of this video will be going over how to actually find some of these viral formats. So one example, as always, is like if you don't know like how to start off, what you can do is you can just go to ChatGPT and just ask like, how do I find winning formats, right? So this is one example. Another example is if you like just screenshot like someone's entire content format. So what I mean by that is, let's say I go to someone's YouTube channel, what I can do is I can just screenshot their most popular videos. So just screenshot and then you just paste it in, and then you like create more, find all the content formats that I can use for Twitter. How do I find other content formats that have gone viral in other platforms? So what this is doing is it's just giving you advice of how to find more ideas. So basically with like thinking about ideas, what we should do is you can brainstorm, right? And then when you have an idea, you can just give AI that idea and just tell it to come up with more ideas. And you can think of it as a tree. So basically with a tree, you start off with a seed, right? So this is your seed idea. And as you like come up with more ideas, there will be like idea 1, idea 2, idea 3. And then from this, you'll come up with more ideas. And this is pretty much how you like just branch off from one idea to hundreds and hundreds of ideas. And this isn't just with coming up with content format ideas, but also with coming up with ideas of how to create content. So like the best content is like bringing stuff that's working in other channels that hasn't been tested in the current channel that we're trying to master. So yeah, so just use this mindset thing of like how to come up with more ideas. So you can see that in the response that they give a bunch of ideas, and let me just prompt it. So how do I come up with more formats that are working in other channels? So let's say on TikTok, what you can do is you can search for certain keywords. So let's say I go to TikTok and then you search for like business. Like on TikTok, you can also filter by videos that have gone viral. Like this guy is a business guy, and you can see that he has a bunch of videos, and like the most obvious thing to do is just like find the stuff that's working and then bring it over to Twitter, right? So that's just one example. And obviously there's like hundreds and hundreds of ways how you can find formats, but the easiest way is just like searching the platform that you're trying to go viral on first. So like if we're trying to grow viral on Twitter, then we should do this on Twitter. So what you can do on Twitter is you just scroll through the For You page and just find stuff that's already gone viral. So there's an app I think called SuperX that allows you to see people's content that has already gone viral. And then what else? Yeah, so like this, right? So this post has gotten 2 million views. And like even if you're not an expert at copywriting or like social media, what you can do is you can literally just screenshot this into AI and then explain the format and how do I create variations, right? So like any problem that you have, you can just give AI to help you break down like why it works, and then from like understanding why it works, you can create more variations of that exact content. So right, so this is a truth versus comfort progress chart. So maybe for my niche, I can create a chart that has like a before and after. I can create a chart that has truth versus like like truth versus comfort, right? So like basically the idea is just repurpose formats that have worked in other niches and in your current niche, and then just spam it in your current topic. So yeah, I think that is like the 80-20 rule of content, which is just like find stuff that works, recreate it, and then the other stuff is like just having this mindset of constantly testing stuff. And I think if we focus on that strategy, we should be able to consistently go viral on these channels. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions or follow up, and I'll make a second video, but I think this should be a pretty good start.